Hey, Shane Trejo here. Welcome into the show. Cancelthisshow.com. Good Monday morning. Could you let everybody know who you are, what you're involved with in Michigan, and then we'll get right into this topic of these Michigan conservative/Republican electors who are facing felony charges.
Oh, thanks for having me, Vic. My name is Shane Trejo. I am the executive director of the Grand New Party PAC. We're an organization that works to get America First Republicans elected in Michigan. And I'm working to expose the truth behind what's going on with the 16 Trump electors in the state of Michigan right now. They're facing multiple felony charges, and it's kind of without precedent how they're getting railroaded right now, and has massive ramifications for 2024. So I'm happy to be here to kind of shed light on what's going on.
Could you break that down? What exactly happened that put these electors in the situation that they are?
Okay, so after the 2020 election, it was marred with allegations of improprieties. As you mentioned, the van that showed up at 3:30 a.m. with all the mysterious ballots, that no chain of custody, no accountability, no transparency. So there was a lot of instances of whistleblowers, people who were at the polling centers, who saw all of this shady behavior happen. They were hauled off the floor. They covered it up, all these sort of things. In mad dash after that, the people did not want investigations. The government did not want investigations, but obviously the Trump supporters did. So the Trump electors, they submitted an alternative slate in case there were investigations that showed enough fraud to where the Trump some of these ballots that were determined to be improper were thrown out in court. Something like that was still plausible, that something like that could have happened when the Trump electors submitted their alternative slate. So when it did happen at the time, it was ignored by the mainstream media. It fell on deaf ears. People just wanted it to go away. They didn't want, at that time, the press did not want any light to be shown on any efforts that were trying to fight back against the 2020 election fraud. So it just fell on deaf ears and was ignored until many months later, when the deep state, when the Biden DOJ and FBI were constructing their case in an attempt to throw as many charges at President Trump as possible. They dug it up and put it back out there like it was some sort of secretive conspiracy or cabal of people trying to steal the election. So they completely reframed it and threw it out there about a year and a half ago, and have been dogging the Trump electors ever since. And then a couple weeks ago, it was announced by Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel that the 16 Trump electors would be receiving a whole host of felony charges, and a lot of them are just completely ridiculous. One of them is uttering and publishing, which is a crime usually for credit card fraud. If someone puts out a phishing scam, if they're trying to solicit a social security number or credit card numbers from people under false pretenses, that's the sort of crime it usually is, but now it's being thrown at the Trump electors. So this is just a way for them to hurt some of the most influential pro-Trump people in Michigan. These are like activists with significant networks. Now, instead of being able to do their First Amendment right to push for the candidate that they want, they're going to be dogged with all these different legal fees and have to go through this ridiculous court proceeding. And what we believe is that it's all about connecting something to President Trump. We're hearing that they're going to actually potentially charge President Trump with racketeering charges and actually say that it's an organized crime operation for how they allegedly tried to steal the election from Biden and tried to hurt democracy. And they're going to have the most far left judges and try to stack the court proceedings as much as possible to do what they can to throw President Trump in jail before 2024, the election can be had. So this is really scary stuff. This is Orwellian stuff. This is something you'd expect to see out of Soviet Russia or Mao's China, but it's actually happening in America right now. So I'm trying to rally support for the electors. We're going to do everything that we can to fight back against this ridiculous narrative that if these 16 people these charges are successful in the court of law and that they are found guilty in some sort of kangaroo court proceeding, that is the end of election integrity, and that is the end of the Bill of Rights and Constitution in our country.
We're talking with Shane Trejo. He's the Grand New Party PAC Executive Director. Can you explain what your term is Michigan electors, just for people who may not know what their job is or what they are?
Yes, because we have an electoral college. There isn't direct democracy in America. Each state puts up a slate of electors based on what candidate won in their state. So there's a process for Republican electors and Democrat electors. And depending on who won the particular state in a given election for the presidency, they send up a slate of electors. So the Democrats had their slate of electors, the Republicans had theirs, and the Republican slate of electors in Michigan, when the election was in dispute, after all the different allegations of fraud, so the Republicans submitted an alternative slate. This is not without precedent in our history. In '76, there were a dueling slate of electors, and that caused some controversy, and eventually Congress made a determination on who would be elected president. So it has happened before, and it has never been suggested that anything like this would be a crime. It was suggested when the Democrats were wargaming on behind the scenes, potentially on what would they do if Trump won. This was suggested by former Clinton campaign specialist John Podesta as something that the Democrats might possibly do. It was suggested in Associated Press, mainstream media reports, that this was something that was being considered. This was something that was a possibility, and it was never suggested that this could possibly be a crime. But the lawyers in the DOJ, the lawyers in the FBI, they were able to concoct this. They were able to spin this and try to make this out to be a crime, just in their mad dash to throw everything that they can at President Trump to try to get him thrown behind bars. And they want these Trump people to flip. They're going to be everything that they can to try to concoct this phony story that they can connect to Trump, because that's what they're going to do. That's why they threw so many ridiculous felonies at them. They want to scare these people, and they want to build the case against President Trump, make him seem like he's a criminal so that they can jail him and do what they can. I don't know if they can possibly throw him off the ballot if he's convicted of crimes. They'll try. They're going to try all kinds of crazy stuff, and they're just started. And these 16 people, they're ordinary people. They're ordinary patriots, and they're being destroyed. They want to destroy their lives in an attempt to stop Trump, stop MAGA, stop the America First movement. And no matter where you are on the political spectrum, this is something that should terrify you, and you should oppose this based on principle.
Shane, does this have anything to do with the infamous video that was found with a mail truck inside of a warehouse dropping off what appeared to be votes late overnight? Is this what you're referring to when it comes to electors seeing things that were going on that election night when the election stopped? And then Michigan, the state of Michigan, jumped right in. They were one of those states where it's, wait a second, a bunch of crazy stuff just happened when the voting stopped.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if any of the electors were on the floor, but I actually was the person who happened to see that.
Because Chuck Colasto posted video again just a few days ago of the mail truck going in to the warehouse. You're familiar with that video, right?
Yes. Yeah, I was actually there on the floor at the TCF at that moment. So I might actually.
Well, where's your video from that night? You've seen this video already. What happened here?
Okay, so what happened was at 3:30 a.m. on the night of the election, all the different poll challengers were basically disenfranchised. No one was able to look at the votes as they were being handled. So there were no votes, there were no ballots coming in throughout the entire night. Then at 3:30 a.m., here come all the ballots from an election worker van. We're showing video
for our podcast listeners of this van that Shane is describing coming in late at night or early in the morning.
Exactly. So 3:30 a.m., here come all the ballots, and no one knew where they were. Obviously, they could have processed these ballots little by little, had them coming in throughout the night, so there could have been an orderly process. But that did not happen. They all came in at 3:30. Then all the poll challengers were basically, the shift was over, so they were moved off the floor. And then when they were processed, that's when we saw the Gestapo operation where it was boarded up. Anyone who tried to say that tried to actually inspect these ballots, they marshaled off the floor, and then they boarded it up so people couldn't see what was going on. So
you were there that night, right there, facility?
Yes, I was watching this happen. So I was one of the people there on the floor watching this happen. I might actually be in this video because I was trying to look at exactly, what does it say on the side of the ballot, or on the van, what's the license plate number? So I was trying to get that information just to see who's behind this operation. But it was actually a city clerk van. It was they withheld the ballots for so long, never gave a reason why. And when the poll challengers saw improprieties happen, such as ballots that didn't have a crease or crinkle in them, suggesting that they were never mailed in, stuff like that, they were told that they were the problem. And some of them were actually marshaled off the floor and basically treated like criminals for demanding
for doing their job.
Exactly. So that's what happened. And the electors, I'm not sure if any of them were poll challengers, but they certainly were aware of things like this. And it wasn't just this. There were many other things that were happening across the country as well that were just as shady. And so the electors were aware of all this stuff going on. That's why they used their First Amendment right under the Constitution to not go along with the coronation of Joe Biden that happened due to, in my opinion, instances like this happening across the coordinated fashion in all these different polling centers in areas in battleground states like Detroit, like Atlanta, Milwaukee, and other states, where Phoenix, where all this sort of followed the same blueprint to swing the election, in my opinion.
With that, Shane, how are people in Michigan taking this whole story? Because I lived and worked there for 11 years. And during my time, I saw a horrible governor in Granholm. And then I saw Snyder, a conservative, get elected, and thought he was doing some good things from a business standpoint. Obviously, the Flint water situation was one of his undoings. My point being is that state can be red and it can be blue. Where are politics in the state of Michigan, especially this elector story? Because I know how local news is, and I know what they're going to say and how they're going to play things.
Yeah, right now we're just trying to make sure that among solid America First conservatives that we're uniting around the electors, that we're giving them the support they need. At nppac.com, we have the Give Send Go accounts for the different electors, so that you can support them monetarily as they get lawyers and fight this. So we had a fundraiser just on Friday as well at the home of one of the electors. We had about 150 people there show their support. So we're just trying to rally the troops right now. In terms of the state of Michigan and the state of our politics here in the Republican Party, it's not particularly good at this point. The Democrats have a trifecta. They have the governor, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the House and the Senate that they control, and they're passing through all kinds of crazy stuff, civil rights for transgender people, red flag laws, huge corporate welfare, massive budgets that are unprecedented. They're going to keep overreaching. And I think that they're going to continue doing that for years. And I think that eventually the public will realize, when they feel the pain of these Democrat policies, then they'll wake up and go back to Republican. There's been a lot of corruption in the Republican Party here too. So you can understand how the voters got sick of that. But I think they're going to have a rude awakening after years of Democrat control. And that's what will make them come back to the Republican Party. But in terms of what's going on with the Republican Party on the ground, a lot of infighting, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. But I think that unfortunately Michigan is going to have to feel the pain of Democrat policies before the voters wake up and turn back around and put Republicans back into office.
Yeah, I was just concerned. I looked over at Lizzie because I was like, oh, it makes me sick to my stomach, because everybody knows Michigan will be a swing state in 2024.
For sure.
And when you control the messaging and you control the media, those two work hand in hand. And I can only imagine what that state's going to do. Do Michigan Democrats really want to vote for Joe Biden? Because I'm afraid that state will go blue just because of the Democrats controlling every aspect of government in the state right now.
Well, yeah, we know that the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, she will not put any oversight, any signature verifications, the mail-in ballots. It won't change in 2024. So it's an uphill battle, but people on the ground who say, oh, man, I was hoodwinked and to vote for Joe Biden, vote for him again. So depending on where the economy goes, if you're looking at what's going on with the inflation, the spending, a lot of bubbles in the economy that seem to be ready to pop at any moment. If that happens and the public wakes up, especially the people in the suburbs who, they don't like Trump's tweets, and that's why they vote against him. If their 401ks disappear overnight, then they might want to go back to the good old days of Trump and putting America first and good economic policies. So I think that there's still a lot of variables that could happen. But yeah, we know that the Democrats in power will not make it easy for Biden to lose in this state, regardless of what the voters want.
Shane, we were talking about earlier Trump's tweets. Now, is the economy as bad as it is here in other states where groceries are so expensive, our insurance skyrocketed, our utilities are going up? Do people in Michigan get that upset with the tweets as opposed to a huge electric bill, our bacon costing $1 million? Are they upset about that yet?
Yeah, doing door to door, you do see anger with the cost of goods and services, and we're definitely feeling it here. It's just that there is so much propaganda out there that just wants to create like a cone of invincibility over the Democrats here. And the problem also is that the Republican Party here is in such a dismal situation that it doesn't seem like a good alternative to voters. But we're trying to get the strongest candidates that we can, the pro-America first candidates who will not go along with a lot of what the Democrats are doing. So we're trying to build a foundation for a better Republican Party here. But you have so many Republicans who are willing to go along to get along, who will go along with a lot of the crazy stuff of the Democrats and champion what they're doing. And that demoralizes the Republican voters, probably by design. So we see a lot of sellout Republicans here, a lot of corrupt Republicans here. And I think that's the biggest problem. It's not that people like Biden, it's that the people have a bad taste in their mouth in Michigan because of all the corruption from the Republican Party over the course of many decades.
Do you have any faith in the voting system coming up for 2024? National voting system?
I don't necessarily have faith in it, but I think that we need to flood the system. We need to work every avenue. If ballot harvesting is not legal in Michigan, but it is legal in other states, Republicans need to do that. Republicans need to look at the rules that are in place and do everything that they can to boost turnout in these rules. I don't think that it's impossible to win. I think we just have to be smart. We have to realize that absentee ballots, early voting, all these sort of things, we have to fight on that battlefield. And if we do, I think we can win. We have better messaging. I think more of the people are on our side. But if we are too stubborn to fight the Democrats in the arena, they've long. We need to fight back again. Just take our ball and go home. We have to go turnout, push for absentee ballots, chase the absentee ballots, people to vote, and we can win. But it'll be an uphill battle. But it was an uphill battle for the founding fathers to achieve our country as well and fight for liberty. So it's never easy to fight for liberty, and we have to go out there and push the turnout as much as we can. And we can't roll over. Even in a crooked system, we have to fight and we have to win.
We need to push the turnout, and we also need to push that people actually show up on election day with eyes and maybe some cameras. Not that it does any difference, but we have got to show up on election day. And like you said, prior, and call our officials and email our officials. Take your Republican officials and email them about what you're saying. We've got to let them know that we're out there.
Shane Trejo, he is with the Grand New Party PAC. He's the executive director out of Michigan. Hey, before you go, people don't believe me when I tell them that Detroit, and I hope the Democrats in Michigan don't screw it up, was really on a rebound the last 6 years, 7 years. And I'm like, people, you don't even realize the city of Detroit blows St. Louis out of the water. They started to do some really good things there. Have you continued to see that progress in Detroit?
Detroit has rebounded, and I give a lot of credit to former police chief James Craig because he upheld the rule of law. He didn't allow all the rioting and all the craziness that happened in 2020 to take hold there. And I think that has made Detroit a better place than a lot of these cities that burnt to the ground and still haven't recovered and are under occupation by these far left forces. So he kept that out of the city of Detroit. So now Detroit is becoming a nicer place. Still got a long way to go, but there are blocks and blocks of areas that are actually quite nice and fun to be at, from just going down there and seeing a game and going to different restaurants and bars and stuff. So it's getting better. And that is something that, even though the state of Michigan government might not be too good right now, you can look at Detroit as something that is improving and it seems to be on.
Yeah, I wish we could say St. Louis was improving and on the upswing, but we can't. So such is the case. Hey, anything else you want to leave us with before we let you go today?
Oh yeah, just check out gnppac.com to find out how to support the 16 Trump electors in Michigan, and check us out on different social media, GNPAC, and get into the fight and stay encouraged.
Shane, hey, we appreciate your time, my friend. Thanks so much. If you have other stories that are going on, please keep us posted. GS3, our friend George Steger III for Michigan, of course, set us up with you. Thanks to George for the interview.
And also, one more thing, shout out to the log cabin Republicans of
absolutely
Oakland County. I'm an ally, and if I didn't say that, he would punch me. So
yeah,
we don't want any punching, so I'm glad you mentioned it.
Hey, Shane, we appreciate it. Have a great day. All right, my friend.
you too. Thank you.